Hello guys, what's good? Our good name is Cool Springs, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. So guys, today I'll be reacting to an interview with Emma Abaga by the legendary, no, an interview by Tayo Aina to the legendary Emma Abaga. So yeah, Tayo Aina actually is a YouTuber, a vlogger, a real estate YouTuber, travel lifestyle YouTuber, and he has gone far, and he's doing what I wish I can do one day. One of my dreams is to interview the legendary Emma Abaga. So they actually sat down for a 24, 30, 40 minutes discussion. Of course, it has been shrunk to actually 24 minutes. And we're going to be reacting to some things Emma said in this, their conversation. And guys, without further ado, let's go.
The best of the best, East Coast Springs. I know it's better than the rest. East Coast Springs, the rapper no one contest. East Coast Springs.
That was the first time I heard one of your songs, and I became a fan.
It's many journeys, man. Many different journeys. First journey is becoming an artist, solidifying yourself, becoming successful. The next journey is getting to that level and balancing out. That's sort of the period where Chocolate City was, people were leaving. We're all successful now,
Yeah.
but relationships are changing. This next journey is, for me, is becoming a CEO, running a company. I consider myself a smart guy, but to run a company is more than that. Failing a lot and learning on the job.
Like Emma is just being realistic here. Usually we have that misconception, or we're just misconstrued by our artists, and we forget that these are human beings. There was a time where Chocolate City was like the peak. Everybody knew the Chalk Boys, and we the old heads, the millennials, actually followed Chalk City down that journey where there were a lot of beefs when Brimo left, when Jesse Jaggs left, MI became president, and Millie had that issue with MI, and in fact, then MI left Chocolate City. So it has been a roller coaster ride for Chocolate City and their journey. But altogether, Chocolate City is standing, and it's still moving forward. Emma is still having a very strong relationship with Chalk City, and he is out of Chalk City now, having his own. He is already a CEO of his own record label and is running multiple businesses. But he said himself that it's about learning to fail and accepting this and coming out of it. This is a very genius, a very brilliant mind talking here, and let's just listen.
Dealing with artists at scale now, and then really understanding how difficult the problems in the industry are. Maybe the last journey is founding tasks and becoming a new person.
So would you say you're transitioning from a rapper to a more full-scale entrepreneur in the tech space or in the creative space?
I definitely want to be in the tech space for sure. But I think it's a new idea that creatives should be like defined by the thing that they've done. Even when you knew MI, even like 2000, I was more than that. I was already a CEO.
Yeah, true.
I was already a manager. I was what I'd like to consider a thinker. People that know me know that the music flows from conversations I'm constantly having. And so we're never really one thing. I think what happens is that the frequency of my music has reduced. The focus on other things that I've always had has started to show more. Because now I'm more popular, so people know those things more. But anybody that knows me will say that right from back then, you might find me having a meeting, or you might find me in the studio. I'll be doing both things all the time.
That's the truth. Like Emma has said it here, that now as a creative, people tend to try to define you by what you've done, and then they don't really know that you're actually more than that. So he just trying to personalize it to himself, that okay, people knew him as a creative, as a rapper, not knowing that okay, he was a CEO, he had multiple businesses, he had other things. He's been identified as a rapper because that's what gave him the fame and the popularity. But this is a human being, yeah, and that might not just be his only stream of income. He might have other things. Like he's selling his dream right now in the tech space. He wants to be in the tech space. Tech is the new oil, by the way. I don't mind leaving this work one day and even learning some tech skills. I actually function outside this YouTube as a digital marketer, a copywriter, social media manager and all. But yeah, also a creative. So we creatives, we can relate. So I'm just listening to Emma and just getting that, learning what he's saying and just trying to relate it to myself and apply it in my own experience. Let's go.
Being an artist in Nigeria, when you started out, what was it like making that step to become a rapper in the industry? What was that journey like?
And the life of a creative is very hard. It's very, very tough. You're a content creator, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Nobody believes in us till we're there. I was very driven. Right before then, I'd been in America in school, but I had a terrible time. I was washing toilets, I was cutting grass, I was doing all these jobs, you know.
I never knew that.
Working at a restaurant, doing one of these jobs, you know. And I came back, I was working at an internet cafe, you know, helping people log onto their emails and stuff. And so with that mindset, 18 years, 19 years, 20, 21, with that mindset, now I knew what it meant to like focus and get something done. I think that also gave me a leg up on the rest of the competition. If something needed to be done, I'll get it done.
Anyone knew this? So that means you were always hustling from a very young age.
This is the Nigerian story. All of us are hustling.
Fact. Like, the truth is that nobody knows your story until you tell them, basically. People only recognize you when you're big, when you have achieved something, when you have brought value to the world. That's when people recognize you. But for everybody hustling, for everybody that has made it to learn, like, there's always a story. They only have that backstory to tell. Emma is telling us his backstory. He was in America to study, but he ended up there. He was studying while washing toilets, cleaning, doing multiple jobs just to survive. Came back to Nigeria, worked in an internet cafe. Yeah, being enlightened. The hustle story, Nigerian story, the mentality, you know. Yeah, that's what it is. Let's just listen. I'll take it further because there's a lot Emma said here, and this is a long one. So, but I'll take it further to some places where I feel like it's important for us to just grab boys and just grasp that knowledge. You know, let's go.
It's like a management team for MI. It's like, what can MI do more than just the person MI? How can we scale the brand? And what they did for me is that they helped me start a label called Incredible Music. We launched it. Then they helped me build a social impact vehicle called Task Community. We received.
And how do you feel?
Those things. So I think even my CEO-ship was a job. But because of my journey, I learned how to survive. And now I'm using those survival skills to learn entrepreneurship properly, to learn how to think about building a business, how to think about scaling it, how to think about those things. So I think a lot of people that feed themselves automatically call themselves entrepreneurs. And I invite them, if they're watching, to understand that entrepreneurship is something a little bit more defined than that. You know what I'm saying? It's a skill set, it's a way of looking at the world. And I'm learning it right now.
I know you're still a rapper, obviously. You can't take that away from you. But at this moment, what are you currently working on? And how do you feel what you're working on now can impact Africa in general?
So I started a company called Task.
Okay.
And Task was like it was like a management team for MI. It's like, what can MI do more than just the person MI? How can we scale the brand? And what they did for me is that they helped me start a label called Incredible Music. We launched it. Then they helped me build a social impact vehicle called Task Community. We received funding. We'll be doing projects. Then they helped me get funding for a movie. You know?
Oh wow!
Yeah, my movie is gonna be shot very soon. We're gonna go to editing.
Oh,
I'm starting a.
Like Emma is like a complete creative man. He started his company. He's doing a lot of creative stuff. You know. Now they are working on a movie. Let's go. It's about to start the podcast. Let's go.
Podcast. You know, I have a team.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
I'm coming after you. But now what I want to do is to turn that team outwards to help creatives. That's the way I can describe it. I just want to help creatives, man. It's a tough, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. And even as a creative myself, I know that there's no proper structure. And there are so many awesome creatives across Nigeria, across Africa who want to do stuff, but there's no proper structure for them. There's no funding, there's nothing.
Maybe the impact for Africa, which is a good part you asked as well, is maybe we can teach something to people out there, other creatives out there, that they can, I don't know, maybe share our learnings. But I really want African creatives to have a better experience on Earth. If we don't start to build pathways for a different type of mind, I don't know if that makes sense. You know, if you just lead everybody through the same 1 times 1, some students are going to fall behind. You know, what if they should be in a class where they're just painting walls? They start to excel at that. It's a way to think about it. And I want to help in that journey. I want to make sure that creatives have an easier life than I do.
You mentioned something about...
Yeah, like what you just said now is actually one of the key knowledge to this interview. Is the very high point, a very strong one. A lot of people have different ways to learn. It's not everybody that wants that as an avid reader and must be a scholar before you can identify them as smart. There are a lot of people that they apply their talents in different ways. Some people are better at painting, some are better at creating stuff, are better innovators, are better inventors, you know. Some people learn from other things. It's not just by reading books and just knowing how to calculate and solve mathematics. There are a lot of ways people learn, and the school should not just be one way. It should not just be book writing and everything. People are supposed to explore their talents in other areas, like musically, athletics. In different fields, people should explore their talents and just have that pathway. And what he said about creatives not really having a proper structure to blossom or to actually be called to excel in Africa. I, as a creative personally, I actually feel that's true. There's not like they're not structures, but they are hidden. Are kind of like secluded, and they are very, very minor. Like usually you go abroad, you check online, you see that there are strong structures concerning. You see groups of YouTubers, you see communities supporting YouTubers, supporting people, influencers, and different people have their different communities. In Nigeria, those communities are there, but they are very secluded, and before you can be part of these communities, it's almost like you need to physically know people. It's almost like a cabal that you have to try to penetrate inside, which is not really favorable. So I can get and understand the place where Emma is coming from. And the truth is that when these structures are in place, it favors creative more. It also inspires the young creatives coming up to even want to get into that space and excel there. So we need to structure our creative community. And MI, I like the fact that he has that insight and he really wants to do this and is already implementing it. Let's continue. Let's go.
Learning now, because I notice in Africa, I think a lot of people don't want to share that knowledge. What do you think about that statement?
It's a big thing when the president, like a politician, declares their assets. It's like a whole thing where like this guy's going to tell. It should be public knowledge. Yeah. If you have money, it should show. Like you worked. Unless you didn't work for now we have the problem. Yeah. Now we've come to what the real problem is. Yeah. So Nigeria obfuscates information. It's called information asymmetry, where information that is necessary for a system to function well doesn't flow freely. The system is going to suffer. So who are the owners of all the companies that get all the projects on Honorable, off your mic.
Wait.
What?
Yeah. I can understand what he's saying. He said Nigeria obfuscates information. Let's check the meaning of obfuscates first of all. That's a new word. Obfuscates, to obscure, unclear, unintelligible. So basically is to hide. Basically is to hide information. That's obfuscating. You just hide it to make it shady. You don't reveal it completely to the public. That's obfuscation. So that's a new word I've learned today from M.I. Abaga. So basically he's saying that if information doesn't flow freely, of course it's going to be a problem, because information that is necessary for a system to function is not flowing freely, which means that there's a gap between the people that are trying to benefit from, that are supposed to benefit from the fully functional system, and the people that are there to make the system work. So there's a gap, and because of that gap, the system actually fails. So that's one of our problems in Nigeria. We hide information, and it's not because information is not there, because information has to be hidden because there are things shady going up in the background. Hands are not clean. Let's go.
This amount, and we're doing it for this, and this is what our company does, and this is our CEO, and
this is how much we make in a year and stuff like that.
Exactly. But who knows? Maybe because of our history, these tribes clashing. Maybe we have it sort of in our culture, and we need to maybe unlearn it.
You mentioned one point now that I plan on going into.
I'm
drinking it.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. You mentioned something about tribes. For me, as somebody who even listens to like your music, I have the mindset that one of the major problems we have in Africa is just division, religion, tribe. What's your perspective on that, on religion and tribe in Africa?
The idea that when you are born into a culture or a religion, it's a crazy idea. It's such a limiting idea on the potential of a human being. What does that mean? What does it mean to be black? Somebody said, you told me you're a rapper. There was a date in recent history, let's call it 1970, where there was nobody on earth that was called a rapper.
Yeah.
But now, today, you can see somebody and say, that guy's a rapper. It's just ideas. It's something that a human being wraps around their head to identify themselves, so they can say, but it's not a real thing. And I can tell you this because I'm a Jukum man. My people and the Tiv people have been fighting for decades, to the point that in our villages, there are Tiv kids that have grown up as Jukun children. And in Tiv villages, there are Jukun children that have grown up as Tiv children. Somebody's parents got killed, the child is orphaned. Of course, Nigerians are good people.
That's interesting.
Hey,
thank you.
Good conversation about how we can move forward together. It might be very difficult, but I think that's the picture of humanity that we should all be working towards.
I have a question about music. How powerful do you feel?
Like what you said about we being limiting ourselves by being identified by a certain group, by certain by based on our skill, or just by our tribes and ethnicity. I think what he said is true and is right. And the truth is that as human beings, we have markers and things to identify us. But the truth is that sometimes we stick too much to those our identity, which we're born into, that it limits us to even do more or even see more and just become diverse and become a broadened mind. And that's where MI is coming from. An example I can use is the fact that there are a lot of tribes and ethnicity where you have to marry, and there's this rule it's unspoken rule basically, where you have to marry someone from your tribe or someone from your village basically. Like, because of that identity, there are a lot of people that strongly stand by marrying people that are from your tribe and from your ethnicity, or someone from your family, by the way, someone from that is from your village. If you don't marry someone from your village, committed a crime or committed a sin. I think right now in 2022, these kind of limiting factors are supposed to be dampened down by a mile. People are supposed to be able to have more open minds towards exploring intertribal marriage, knowing the other person's culture and understanding it, and they're mixing together, so that we don't have this limiting and limited mindset. It limits us from a lot of knowledge, a lot of angles of life. There are a lot of things people do that we are not aware of. There are a lot of ways people come up with their own solutions and stuff. So we don't have to be limited by this identity that we give ourselves. That what Emma is saying there. Now that's facts.
Changing the minds of people or changing the perceptions of people about stuff.
I think music is not very powerful, but musicians are. If I sing a song that you don't agree with, it will not influence you. But if I sing many songs that you agree with, and then I say, I want to do something, you are more likely, because you agree with me, to follow me. Which is why when, like Twitter, when they're blasting me, you see MI fans may disagree with me, but they will take my side. We look for messages that we agree with.
True.
But the messenger can change your perspective on something.
And what are your thoughts on the songs we listen to nowadays?
Today?
Yeah, today.
It's the same as it's always been. I want to tell you a secret. I want to tell you a big secret.
Okay, I'm listening. Yeah, I'm ready.
Human beings love sex.
Okay.
As long as people have been singing about music, they've been singing about sex.
True.
There have always been some people that are like, why are we doing this? It's bad.
Yeah.
And those people go home and they have sex.
Yeah.
Human beings love sex. It's always going to be in music. Young people are going to talk about it because that's what they're going through. They want to party, they want to make new friends. Why do you think they want to party? Because they've been living in their home, their whole lives. Imagine 18 years dealing with the same 5 people. You can't wait to get out, to meet more people. So what are you going to do when you get there? You're going to celebrate and party. It's never going to change. You know what I'm saying? The older people discover the world, then they build a structure. And they say, now I'm safe. And then they raise kids who are like, what is this structure? I want to get out of here.
It was always like that.
It's always the same thing.
Yeah.
It's always about youth and rebellion and sexuality. And it's part of who we are as a species. The content, since I was a child, has not changed. It's the same. It's, baby, I love you. They'll say, oh, it's a nice one. These young guys just saying it more explicitly.
Yeah, true.
But you're saying the same thing.
It's the same thing, true.
Why were you singing the song? Why? What did you want? Did you want to take her to church? My brother, you want it? The same thing.
Yeah, there are many ways to get to the same goal, Yeah, no matter how you twist it, it's all the same thing. The information is still the same, just the way that it has been sung is different. That's what Emma is saying there, and that's actually the truth. Maybe you're using, then Afrobeat was not, in the past Afrobeat was not like in vogue like it is today. So people that are singing, but it's still the same topics they are singing about. Love, romance, sex, hustle, it's still the same. All of them is still based on the same theme and the same information, just being sung differently right now. Music has evolved, but the content still remains the same. Let's go.
Same thing, mommy and daddy, grandpa, grandma, in your old time when MJ they were, okay, till we get enough.
What were you talking about?
What is it?
It's just more explicit.
Is it a prayer song or?
Sure.
It's the same.
Where would you say your inspiration comes from?
Life, man. Meeting people like you. Like, I did this interview because someone I know told me you said the tweet, and someone I know sent me a message and said, meet this guy. I don't do interviews anymore, she does. But I was like, oh, I want to have a conversation with you.
Thank
no,
you.
but the point is, you've done something in your life that has affected people, and people that do that, people that shake the world, whether I watch them on TV, whether I read a book, whether I meet them like I'm meeting you today, if we have the right perspective, life is so beautiful. Every gate man you walk by, every child on the streets, you know what I'm saying? There's so much there. So if you're open to it, inspiration is everywhere.
Everybody has a story.
Absolutely. Not just a story, an amazing story.
If you're given a chance to change one thing about Africa, what would it be and why?
Because of our history with our colonial masters, Nigerians got it the easiest because our interaction, it was still brutal. Slavery was hard on everybody. But in West Africa, I think that mosquito maybe chased them away or something. They didn't come and settle here. In the East and in the South, they tried to beat Africans into submission, prison them, chain them, arrest them. It's a man that was a freedom fighter before Nelson Mandela's time. And on Robben Island, he was locked in a room for the rest of his life.
Oh, wow.
Small room. They just locked him up there and he died there. It's terrible the things they did. But what that did is that there's a residual fear of authority and fear of whiteness that I would just take away like this and set Africans free. I would look at ourselves and be like, we are Africans. Number one, the human race evolved from us. This is where it started. Fact number one, go and check. This is where it started. We are the source code for genetic truths about where we're coming from. We are the source code for the complexity of the human biology. Look at our women, look at our men, the athletic beauty, the splendor, the intelligence. You know what I'm saying? How strong we are, how we love, how we dance. We are Africans. It's such a... What?
Nothing beats Africa, man. Africa is like, that originality is there, our ethnicity, our diversity, our identity basically. Africans are unique beings, we are unique, we're special, and that's just a fact. Let's go.
We are Africans. If you're a Nigerian and you're a black person and you are lucky enough not to live in a place where white supremacy covers everything in your life, you are a very lucky person. White supremacy is a disgusting disease, and victims of it have to be understood through that lens. And do you know the people that can help them in this world, who can lead? Nigerians. Economic.
That's again.
Superpower, the giant of Africa. If you touch our people anywhere in the world, that's how we should be sounding. That's how we should lead in that way. So that's why, I mean, people can be upset with me, but at least I can explain myself. That I'll never ever be upset. If I'm talking to another Nigerians are blah blah blah, I'll say sit down, tell me your problem. You don't have jobs. What jobs are you guys looking for? What's the economic problem? Okay, do you know what? The richest black man in the world is in Nigeria. Let's talk to him, let's see what we can do. I believe that that's our role on earth. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
I think that's a segue to my next question, which is,
Thank you, by the way. You came and dropped my mic here.
do you feel we have an identity problem as Africans? I think I think you've kind of like answered that question in a way.
Yeah, we have trauma. Trauma shows up in identity. We were impacted by historic events, and we've never been able to really address those issues and get equity back. Have you ever met and this is a serious thing, a rape victim?
Yeah,
It's trauma.
trauma. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, for the rest of his or her life. So imagine meeting someone and say, why is she so jumpy? You have to remember what happened.
True. I have like 2 more questions. Most of my videos are making.
So what he's saying about trauma basically, I think what Ma is just saying there is that the historic events that we went through as Africans, generalizing as Africans, it has affected us and it has reflected in how we do things and how we see ourselves, like the way we identify ourselves. You know, basically most of us grew up with a stereotype that the whites are actually better than us, or the see whites as these supreme beings better than Africans, and all these things as a result of what we went through in the past, being colonized by these people, and these people actually enslaved most of our forefathers and our ancestors. So right now we are living in a third world society. Our country is not as developed as those abroad and everything, and it has affected our identity in the sense that we see ourselves as smaller people. We actually see ourselves as a lesser group of people. This is not for everybody, but generalizing as Africans, we see ourselves as a lesser group of people compared to the whites, which is not supposed to be so. It's just trauma. Every human being is a human being, and we are all equal, and we are all born in the same thing. Nobody's born with a different brain and everything. What has changed us as a society, and just by the historic events that have been faced by our forefathers, it's being reflected in society today. But now Emma is talking about, and yeah, I can get what he's saying, and you can see through the lens of the genius Emma Abaga. Let's go.
And are trying to open people's mindsets, showcasing positivity of Africa and of Nigerians. But there's this thing that happened. I think in Nigeria, we have this thing where we are always talking down on our country. We know we have a lot of problems. In the comment section, everybody's always insulting, cursing Nigeria, and this is done by Nigerians.
Well, the truth is the truth, man. Nigeria in itself, the system is just something else. Like, I've not had light for a week. I've been burning fuel on generator. The whole place is noisy. You guys may even be finding it difficult to hear my sound because all around me, the neighborhood is surrounded by generator, noisy gen buzzing from right and left. This is a problem you see in Africa, and especially in Nigeria. And you're asking why? Of course, this is what it is. Our society doesn't support our growth financially and economically, and even health-wise too. We are just here struggling. Like, struggling has become a norm. Surviving has become a norm for Nigerians in Nigeria, which is crazy. So let's see what MI says about this.
Themselves. What do you have to say about that?
All your questions are very well thought out questions. Now that I've heard your story, I'm not shocked. You know what I mean? I know you're a little bit better. I know, I'm not shocked. They're very, very intelligent questions.
Thank you.
We're going to go into a philosophical to answer this.
Yes.
There are three parties in this question. The first party, the person being complained to. The second party, I don't want to touch the other cookie. Because are you going to have a cookie?
No, I'm fine. I'm having this one.
Let me touch it. Second person is the person complaining. And the third party is the person watching. Let's call this person the West. Let's call these people the young. Let's call these people the country, Nigeria, right? And an observer says, it's your country. Can't you see that people are watching you talk bad about your country? Do you understand the framework?
Yeah.
The question we have to ask before we consider this person's feelings is what happened to this guy that he's complaining about? It's valid. If nothing happened, then the person that's observing is right. Hey, you shouldn't be talking like that. That's disrespectful, that's rude, you shouldn't. But there's something that could have happened to this person under which we say, you that you're watching, this has nothing to do with you. We're trying to have a conversation now. I find that Twitter, social media, Instagram, Facebook, they make us so conscious of how we're perceived. To be a mature person is to not care about other people's opinions. You can care about their well-being. It's a different thing, but not care about their opinions. If there are no jobs, if people are getting malnourished and are getting stunted growth, if hundreds of thousands of people are in IDPs, if a young man is arrested and shot and killed by a police officer, his body is buried under the ground, if those things are happening to this person, it's time for that person to shout at the top of their voice. And in a way, I think that that's what the young people are doing. They're tired. You know, a lot of this trauma is from their parents. Do you remember growing up in Nigeria? The kicks, bruises, the punches, the insults. You bastard child, we heard it all around us. What do you expect? How do you treat human beings like that? What do you think they're going to do? You think they're going to come on Twitter and be like, we love this country?
True.
They have so much pain and trauma, they'll be like, this.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why everybody wants to run. The truth is that if this place was so conducive and suitable, people will not want to jackpot. Everybody wants to run because, people grow up in such toxic environments, and even the country is getting worse by the minute. The economic value of the country is depreciating. The financial value of the country is just terrible. The competition is on the high. The industries, no more job employments, no more access to jobs. In fact, standard of living is reducing by a mile, and the structure is getting worse. And you think people will be here and be smiling that yes, well done, because the country is getting terrible and more terrible by the day. What do you expect from Nigerians? Of course, we want to talk. We have to talk. We have to, since that's the only thing we can do, we should make the noise and we should say it as it is, because the truth is that if we don't talk, nobody will talk for us. Let's go.
Look what's happening to them. So maybe that's a good way to think about it. And what I really understand your perspective. But let me tell you something about this audience. They are the most guilty. The West,
yeah. I agree.
If you want to tell them it's something bad, as a Nigerian writer or African writer, if you check the surface, you're going to see where the West did something that started that problem. So tell them the problem. Yes, it's actually happening. Nigeria is in a fucked up place now. And in 1863, when your people landed, you did. Sorry, I just like.
That's true.
Tell them the story.
Yeah.
Do you write good about black people?
Nope.
Do you write?
Nope.
Do you care? They don't.
Nope. They
So
don't.
what do I care? Well, I don't give it. What I care about is what happened to the person. And Nigerian youth, yourself included, have been through a very traumatic past. And we need to have an open conversation. The Igbos of Nigeria have been through a very traumatic past. We need to have a conversation. The Fulanis, Hausas, those tribes up north, the Christians, the Muslims, we have a very traumatic past. The South, we have a very traumatic past. We need to talk about it.
We need to talk about it.
Talk about it.
Talk about
Name
it.
of my podcast, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's revealing something to us. He has a podcast coming up. Talk about
So
it.
nice. My last question, my final question for you is, what's your general advice to every young African out there who is watching this video?
If you are watching me, you're a fan of his, as somebody that's gone through the hardship of Nigeria, I want to give you two really strong pieces of advice. The difference between where you are and where you want to be is information. Every day you consume information, you can't help it.
Yeah.
Decide what information you're consuming. Don't spend your whole time on social media if that's not what you want to be. If you want your job to be a social media watcher, then do it. But if you want to do something else, spend your time, read. Go to YouTube, watch a video, spend time consuming the information that will take you from where you are to where you want to be. And the second thing is that doing things the right way creates solutions that makes everything better. But if you do it the wrong way, you just hurt yourself. It's a big thing that we need to learn. I empathize with every young Nigerian that tries to do like Yahoo, any of those things. I get it. But the thing is, when we look at our leaders, we can see what the effect of doing things wrong, the wrong way, produces. So it is counterintuitive for us to now start to do things the wrong way again. Even if they produce independent results in our lives, we can already see what the mass effect of it is. So even though doing things the right way is harder, that is what we should do. Get a job, educate yourself, try, don't give up, keep pushing. It's harder, but that's what we should do.
The harder thing, what I've discovered and what I've learned, is that the harder thing is always the one that brings out the better results, especially when I'm talking about long-term effects. The other thing, you learn more from the one that is harder, you learn from the experience, and actually reflects back in what you do and how you do things long-term. It gives you that long-term validation and that long-term advantage. The easier one may be all good and nice right now, but then it has a stopping point. It has a place where you start getting the repercussions of all those things you do. So it's our choice. We need to educate ourselves better. We need to chase things more long term. Yeah, Emma said it also. That's just it. And I really appreciate Emma for coming here and really just giving us these gems of wisdom. I'm sure Tayo does too. And yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Emma. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Tell me what you learned from everything Emma said here. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll go by the name East Coast Prince. If you love this content, leave a like, leave a comment. And guys, with that being said, my people, peace.